Welcome to Chapter 7. After reading Chapter 7 and listening to the lecture, you should be able to answer the following questions. Why do you need to know the education and the law? What do you need to know about education and the law? Why do you need a professional code of ethics? What are your legal rights as a teacher? Do student teachers have the same rights as teachers? What are your legal responsibilities as a teacher? What are the legal rights of students and parents? What are some of the issues in the legal rights of school districts? Without knowledge of legal dimensions, teachers will be ill-equipped to protect their rights and rights of their students. Code of ethics are when the educator accepts the responsibility to adhere to the highest educational standards. NEA. Ethical teaching attitudes and practices require teachers to act in a way that promotes the learning and growth of students and helps them realize their potential. Ethical dilemmas in the classroom and school will occur in schools, and a professional code of ethics can help teachers deal with them. Characteristics of good ethical decisions include the following. The decision is supported by evidence. The goal of the decision is what should be aimed for. The decision can be implemented morally. The decision has been legitimately achieved. There are many legal rights afforded to teachers, including some of the following. Due process is a step-by-step examination of the charges brought against a teacher. Teachers who meet all of the state requirements for certification can not arbitrarily be denied a teaching certificate. Obtaining certification does not mean it cannot be revoked. Reasons for revoking certifications must be job-related and demonstrably impair a teacher's ability to perform satisfactorily. Non-discrimination employment is protected by Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Employers may not discriminate against an individual because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, nor may employees be separated by the above criteria. Teaching contracts are legal agreements between teachers and a board of education. 5 basic elements for validity of a teacher contract are offer and acceptance, competent parties, consideration, legal subject matter, proper form. Academic freedom is a teacher's right to use teaching methods and materials to which school officials might object, must be balanced against the interest of society. It is no longer a strong defense. Teachers must show that he or she did not defy curriculum directives, followed professional norms, discussed matters of public concern, acted professionally and in good faith. Famous cases regarding academic freedom include some of the following. The Scopes monkey trial, which is one of the most famous cases where a teacher taught evolution and was fired, cited academic freedom, fined for violating the Butler Act, later reversed on technicality. Other cases involve instructional materials and topics have ruled both for and against teachers. Schools and courts must establish curriculum suitable for all and not in violation of the Constitution. Under states' rights and academic freedom, some teachers have been successful in citing academic freedom, others have not. Teachers may be dismissed or suspended until the use of appropriate material or method is stopped. States have a legitimate interest in what is taught to impressionable children. Currently, no state has provisions regarding the dismissal, assignment, or denial of right to student teachers. Potential for liability exists for student teachers, the same as other regular and full-time teachers. Student teachers should be cautious before assuming substitute teaching responsibilities. Legal advice for student teachers includes some of the following. Read the teacher handbook. Know safety rules and regulations. Be aware of hazards associated with activities and act to protect children accordingly. Be aware of controls and requirements placed on curriculum by district. respect confidentiality, and use student records to improve teaching, document problems. Teachers have many legal responsibilities, including avoiding tort liability and educational malpractice. Teachers have many legal responsibilities, including some of the following. Tort law deals with negligent behavior that results in injury, intentional injuries, libel, slander, or injuries from defects in land or buildings. That's tort law. Tort liability occurs when an individual is negligent and at fault in exercise of duty, can be required to pay monetary damages to injured party. Teachers, especially shop, physical ed, and science teachers, are held to a higher standards due to the increased chance of injury. Educational malpractice. Schools are negligent if pupil fails to achieve significantly. Teachers are required by law to report suspected child abuse. Teachers should follow school process to report child abuse. Teachers need to follow Fourth Amendment to guard against unlawful search and seizure. The Fair Use Doctrine states that copyrighted materials may be used in the reasonable manner without the copyright holder's consent, as long as the use does not reduce the demand for the work or author's income. Digital Millennium Actum Act states that it is illegal to circumvent copy blocking measures that copy access to copyrighted works. The doctrine of fair use applies to the following materials: photocopies, videotapes, computer software, email and internet, publishing on the internet. Teachers and students can be copyright protected by including statements that materials may not be duplicated without permission. Children's last names and identifying information should not be published. Teachers should be careful when posting to online social network sites, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, etc. They must remember that their postings may be seen by the public and school officials. Teachers should never post inappropriate postings or photos. It is best not to post postings by others without their knowledge or consent. Teachers should be mindful of their interactions with students online. The text provides many examples of what can happen if they don't. Some districts and schools have policies that state that teachers should not friend students on their social media networks. There are many legal rights of students and parents, including some of the following. Freedom of expression states that teachers and students do not have to give up freedom of expression when in school. Student publications are constitutionally protected and should be regulated if posing threat to disruption, libelous, vulgarity, or obscenity. Schools may use prior censorship requiring students to submit literature before publication. Laws and policies are still evolving for student expression on social network sites. Districts have no right to control student expression off campus unless it can lead to a disruption on campus. Schools may have dress codes as long as the codes are clear and reasonable and students are notified. Schools must balance First Amendment rights of students and legitimate rights of schools' authorities to maintain a safe and disruption-free environment. Students have a legal right to education, and that right should only be removed through the application of a procedural due process. The Fourth Amendment states citizens are protected from search and seizure without a warrant. Court 2 provides a prong test of reasonableness, or school officials have reasonable suspicion students had violated a law or school policy. The search must be conducted using methods that are reasonable in scope. Guidelines for searches for educators include: inform students and parents at the beginning of the year and the school's procedures for conducting searches. Base searches on reasonable suspicion. Conduct search with another staff member present. Avoid strip searches or mass searches of groups. Require that police obtain a search warrant before conducting the search of the school. The Family Education Right Privacy Act, FERPA, gave parents and students the right to examine their school records. It is known as the Buckley Amendment. Schools must do the following: inform parents and students of their rights. Provide information to parents and students about types of educational records and how to obtain access to them. Allow parents or students right to view records and request changes or hearing and add their own explanation. Not giving out personal identifiable information without prior written consent of parents or student. Allow parents and students to see the school records of disclosures. Exceptions to FERPA include teachers' grade books and personal records, private notes of school law enforcement officials. Peer grading and use of cameras in classrooms do not fall under privacy protection. Students who are pregnant, married, parents, or have a non-infectious disease may not be discriminated against or required to attend alternative classes. The Supreme Court has upheld constitutional use of corporal punishment. School districts can be liable if harassment was foreseeable and preventable and they deliberately failed to intervene. Existing case law of first speech and sexual harassment does not readily apply. The Lemon Test determined that governmental practices must do the following: have secular legislative purpose, neither advance nor inhibit religion, not foster excessive entanglements of religion. Guidelines for religious activities in schools include some of the following: students may practice religion during non-instructional times. Teachers should not discriminate against students who express their religious beliefs. Schools have to grant parental requests to excuse students from class for religious reasons. Teachers cannot encourage or participate with students in religious activities, but may participate with other employees during lunch and free time. Families who homeschool their children must demonstrate instruction is equivalent to that offered in the public school. Standardized testing is required. Families are required to submit lesson plans, time on curriculum, and attendance logs, and may be ineligible if tests fall below the 40th percentile.